All right, let's take a look at section 3.8. In 3.8, we're going to be rewriting equations and formulas. And when we say that rewrite, notice that it's just simply that. We're only going to rewrite them. We're not going to solve, we're not going to necessarily find answers. We're just going to reorganize equations and formulas. We're going to be asked to do it with two different sets of directions. The first is with this set of directions that say function form. And when we use that phrase, function form, you can actually translate it to be solve for y or make it to y equals. Apparently my computer's going to be slow for a moment. So again, that function format says that we're just going to either solve for y, those are directions you've done a lot, or make a problem into y equals. So whichever way you're more comfortable reading that, that's what that function form is telling us. When we see the phrases literal equation, that's really telling us that we're going to have a whole lot of variables, two or more variables. That's the big piece with that literal equation. We're going to do function form more often than not, but you are going to see literal equations. And all this is asking us to do is to solve, but have quantities and not answers like we're used to. So we're trying to get y all alone, right? Put it in function form. So the first thing we're going to do, remember SADMAP, we're working backwards here. So we need to do subtractions and additions first. So to get y alone, we need to subtract the 2x from both sides. This leaves us, remember your zeros, they're going to be really helpful to you here. Got 2x minus 2x, that's a 0. So now we can think of this as saying 0 plus 2y. So we get 2y is equal to 10 and negative 2x are not like terms. Since they're not alike, we can't do anything with them, so we'll just write them down. Just to make good habits for chapter 4, put the x part in front of the constant. Remember, constant means no variable. So negative 2x plus 10. Then we finish the problem by division, and we're going to divide every last piece, right? 2 times y, so we undo it to make 1y equals. And if I divided this one by 2, I have to divide every fraction or every term, oops, not by negative 2, by positive 2. Every term by 2. So negative 2x over 2 becomes a negative 1x, or negative x, plus 10 over 2, which becomes a 5. So we're just solving, and now we have y equals, and we have an expression, because function form is going to tell me that I have an expression. So, I didn't finish writing that SADMAP, but the second step that we did was either a division, like we had here, or if I had a fraction, I might need to do some multiplication. Eventually, we'll get to talking about undoing exponents and parentheses. We've done some of this parenthesis work. So now let's go to example 2. It's a literal equation, and it says to solve for a. So your translation is that means that in your answer, you're going to have a equals a quantity. So we got to get a all by itself. So the first thing, we have a plus something, or something plus a if that was how we had it, right? Thinking ahead to future problems. So we have to undo this addition with a subtraction. So we will subtract by. Oop, I didn't put my balance line in, but it might be helpful here. Subtract b times y. So when I subtract, I get a 0. and I end up with a plus 0, so just a, equals. These are not like terms. When you're not dealing with x and y, I'm not so worried about order. So let's just write it down exactly, right? It's literal equation, so let's write it down exactly what they told us to do. C minus by. And there we have our solve that way with a literal equation. Now, let's go down to our interest problem. We've seen this formula a few times, right? We've seen it. I is interest. P is the dollars or the amount of money that I invest. Interest rate is an R. Remember, R is a percentage, so we can't use it the way we see it. We have to change it to a decimal or a fraction. For T years is given by the formula I equals PRT. So we have two things we have to do. First, we have to solve for T. And the second thing we have to do is use that rewritten formula to find the time it takes. So let's start with what they asked us to do. Solve the formula for T. So I equals P times R times T. And we want to get T to stay alone. We don't have any adds or subtracts, so we're just going to use division, right? Those are all multiplies, so we'll use division. We need to divide by P. Whatever I do on the left, I also have to do on the right, because P over P would give me 1. I also have to divide by R, because R over R would give me 1. So I over PR is equal to 1T. So interest divided by the principal times the rate is equal to the time. So we've got the first part. We did the literal equation part. Now they're asking us to use that formula to find the time it takes to earn $100 interest on $1,000 at a rate of 5%. Find the time, right? Read that actively. Find the time. So I'm looking for T, and I know interest, so $100 divided by the principal. I'm going to invest $1,000 at a rate of 5%. So 5%, that's 5 cents. So 0.05. Or 5 over 100 if you like to write it as a fraction. Either one is acceptable, which I think I probably would have rathered. So now I've got my division. And again, these are all multiply and divide problems, so however you go through and do them. And I have, let's see, let's do this multiplication first. 100 over 3 zeros. So 1, 2, 3. 100 over 50 when I multiply. Double check me. So that I end up with T is equal to 2, and we're measured in years. So that means that this is going to take 2 years if I have a rate of 5%. You have some practice problems below. The first two are write them in function form. Then you have 2 literal equations. And one of the literal equations is another investment problem. Give those a try. Come back and check your work. All right, so hopefully you really paused the video and you actually tried these problems independently. Notice that I gave myself some notes and I showed all my work so that when I see the words function form, I remember y equals an expression or a quantity, b equals, and p equals, and then using that expression to solve the problem. Again, check over your work. Make sure you put some questions down if there's something we need to go over. I'd be happy to do it in class tomorrow. Have a great day.